For more on the vaccine rollout here in the U.S., let's bring in Dr. Yaneer Bar-Yam, president of the New England Complex Systems Institute. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So first of all, just how much of a game changer will this pharmacy rollout be to the overall vaccination effort?
So the pharmacy is a really good idea, and it's a very good program to bring the vaccines into communities where people can get to it in places that they know, and there's the personnel and there are the systems in place to keep track of the vaccines. It's really something that pharmacies have been doing for a long time. There are a few things that they have to deal with, like the refrigeration needs of this particular vaccine, but having everything else in place and adding to it the refrigeration is much less of a burden or a challenge than setting up special facilities to do everything.
So then talk about the pace of vaccinations under President Biden's administration so far. Is the administration on track to reach its 100 million vaccinated in 100 days goal?
So not yet, right? I mean, it's still ramping up, and whether or not it'll actually get there, we'll see. But it surely has the capability, with the pharmacies delivering the vaccine and depending upon the supply chain, to provide that rate of vaccination. It's really not going to be limited by the delivery. Once they have this process in place, it's going to be limited by the availability of the vaccine, which is a key challenge globally and in the United States.
So then, as well as availability of the vaccine, what are some other potential holdups or hurdles that we might be able to look at?
So I don't think that the vaccine program itself and delivering vaccine to people is the central challenge of this process. The real challenge is how people are thinking about what the vaccine is going to do, because people have been talking about it as the way out of the pandemic, but it's actually not a very surely not soon a way out of the pandemic, and perhaps not even in a long time. And that's what we really have to talk about, because as we just heard, there are people who are expecting that they will just be able to go back to normal as soon as they have the vaccine. And that's not really how the vaccine is designed. And there's a lot of, let's say, inadequate public communication about the nature of what we should expect to happen once people are vaccinated.
So then, to that point then, for those who have recently gotten the shot and they're asking how freely can they move around, what would you recommend?
Actually, the real challenge is to explain to them that the vaccine, in terms of its effect, is limited to preventing severe disease. And that's a good thing for a particular person, but it remains true that people who get the vaccine can become sick and can transmit it to others. And realizing that is a game changer in terms of thinking about what we can do. Now, in particular, we've had elderly individuals. There were just 14 elderly individuals in a care home in Germany that were infected after they received the second dose of the vaccine. And this is a warning to everyone to realize that people can get sick, they can transmit it to others, and so if they go around hugging people, not only will they get infected, but they will infect others. And so we're really back in terms of thinking about the precautionary behaviors, the things that we have to do in terms of self-isolation and care about transmission. That doesn't change.
Right.
The time that we hope that it will change is in 6 months to a year, let's say 9 months, when enough of the population is vaccinated to prevent transmission in the population. Now, that was the ideal hope. And obviously, just to be clear, 9 months is a long time from now. And that's going to be very frustrating to people who are already, waiting to get out to normal.
Right.
And so this is not the kind of exit that people are expecting. But there's more problems than that, and I'm happy to address them as well.
And the thing is, people really are looking for some sort of light at the end of the tunnel. It has been a tough year for a lot of us around the world. Now, we did see that President Biden said on Thursday that the U.S. has bought enough vaccines to give 300 million people shots by the end of July. Assuming that happens and that people actually want to take them, do we have a potential timeline, given that we see in the most recent studies about a third of Americans aren't keen to take the vaccine?
So that's one of the challenges. I mean, I do think that as more and more people are vaccinated, it will become something that people learn is safe. And obviously it depends on that it is safe, but all of the indications so far are in that direction. Now, again, having the vaccine or placing orders for the vaccine, the question is of the supply chain. And sure, if it happens by July, that's the optimal, right? That's about 6 months from now to the end of July. And so that was the rosiest picture in terms of getting a lot of vaccine to be in the population and to have a chance of slowing the transmission. But the problem is more deep than that. The problem is that we already have variants that are more transmissible, more deadly. That's the UK variant, but also variants that are showing the ability to evade the vaccine. And that's the South African variant and the Brazilian variant. And those variants are already spreading in the United States. And the fact that they can undermine the effectiveness of this vaccine or the vaccines that have been developed means that in order to counter them with vaccines, we'll have to have new vaccines and we'll have to have multivalent vaccines. And so that's what's happening. People are talking about now we have to have basically multiple vaccines that we're going to be starting to give people. And that's adding both to the time and to the difficulty and to the extent of the limitation in terms of our expectations. And in particular, that already in March, we're expecting the UK variant to dominate in the US. We're going to end up with a new, very high surge. And the only way to stop these surges is not by the vaccine at this point. It's only by doing the kinds of strong stay-at-home orders and closing down schools and businesses and so on in order to prevent the transmission.
We'll have to leave it there, unfortunately. Lots of good advice there. Thank you so much. Dr. Yaneer Bar-Yam there, President of the New England Complex Systems Institute.